Hi, I'm Jeff Gonzales, Director of Training here at the Range in Austin. Today I'm going to be talking to you about proper trigger finger placement. We get asked this question a lot from students, and that is, where do I put my finger on the trigger? The question is best answered by understanding the different types of hand sizes we're going to deal with, as well as understanding the fire control system that you have to work with. Looking at the fire control system, if you understand levers, this is nothing more than a lever. So if you can appreciate that the optimal placement of your trigger finger is going to be on the lower portion of that trigger to achieve the most leverage, then you understand the trigger. Once you have that understanding, the next thing we need to do is we need to identify where we put our finger on the trigger. So if we were to divide the trigger into three parts, the top, the middle, and the bottom, we're going to want to put our finger on the lower portion, or the bottom. So as long as your finger is on the lower portion but not dragging on the trigger guard, then you're good. What we don't want to do is we don't want to have our finger so high up, and right in the middle is very common, but to optimize we want it down on the lower third. So now once we have our finger in the right position on the trigger, the next thing is, what part of my trigger finger do I actually place on the trigger? A lot of times people are taught to put the tip of their finger on the trigger to optimize precision. And I would agree with you if this was a bolt-action rifle. Since it's not, then the next two positions are going to be the pad or all the way up to the knuckle. The pad is very commonly taught. I'm okay with the pad as long as you have the power to press the trigger straight to the rear, minimal disruption to the sights. What we teach our students in the beginning of the classes is to go ahead and sink their finger in deep. Once they sink their finger in deep, that will give them the power that they need to actually move the trigger straight to the rear. The ultimate goal is to minimize the disruption of the sights. Power is what's going to allow that to happen. So once we have our finger sunk in deep, the next thing we talk about is understanding the relationship of the sides of the trigger. What we typically see is every now and then folks will wrap their finger around the left edge, and when they wrap their finger around the left edge and as they press the trigger, they're going to actually pull the gun to the right hand side. So you'll see your shot group start to drift. Then the other error that we see is when folks put their finger more on the right hand side. Putting it on the right hand side is going to push the trigger. Again, your shot groups are going to now drift to the left. So you have to be very cognizant of the face of the trigger. Your finger has to be on the face of that trigger in order to press it straight to the rear. As long as you can do that, you'll minimize those shooting errors. Now the last thing that we talk about is the actual orientation of the trigger finger. A lot of folks are taught to grip the gun nice and high and then squeeze the trigger. What ends up happening is they end up rubbing the frame of the gun with their trigger finger. And no matter how much precision you try to apply, you are going to be moving the sights as you squeeze the trigger. So you have to ensure that your trigger finger is completely isolated from the trigger. When it's completely isolated, as you move the trigger straight to the rear, you're going to get the best movement of the trigger to achieve that precise hit that you're looking for. Thanks for joining me for this video. If you like it, please subscribe to continue to follow us on all the other videos that we're going to be putting out here in the near future. Stay safe, train hard, and have fun.